This is Work in Progress Wednesday. I am so excited to catch up with you guys. It's been a while. Again, I give myself grace as a work in progress. It is always my aim to chat with you guys every Wednesday to talk more about what I'm working on, what you're working on, and just how everything is a journey and that we have to celebrate our progress. And so I have had a busy, crazy, interesting, fun couple of weeks. Just writing as well as pitching story ideas. Last week, I spent quite a bit of time pitching some book ideas. And you guys, I mean, for those of you who don't know, I have self published 5 publications. And so, love telling stories, love writing books, and actually I love the business side of publishing as well. And so I never really considered trying to get a book deal. I mean, I know that that sounds like the dream for most authors, but it just wasn't something that I thought much about. I just had, started this journey of self-publishing and being able to connect directly to my readers. And so I love that relationship. I don't think that will ever change. I will always put stuff out there. And so I spent quite a bit of time preparing those pitches. And so for the next few weeks, I'm going to be working on a new book idea that it's really not new. I've been working on it for a while. And so just polishing that book idea over the next few weeks. I've set a deadline to have it polished and ready to go. And so you guys, I hope that you pray for me and that you keep me throughout that process. One of the things I did want to talk about today, I was in a conversation with a client we started talking about writing books, and something that I feel like people don't address a lot of times when they're coaching people on writing, whether it's writing a book or anything, to be honest. There's stuff that comes out when you write. There's stuff that you have buried. There's subconscious beliefs and thoughts that you have ignored. And so when you start writing, when you put that pen to paper, when you start typing, that stuff comes back. And the analogy I actually used was, when you sit down to write a book, the stuff that you hid in the attic, all of a sudden you start sifting through it. You start looking through old memories and old habits and old things that you thought, you were healed from, or you thought you were over it, or you thought that you'd grown so far beyond it that it wasn't a problem anymore. And so I just want to encourage you, especially if you are in the midst of working on any creative endeavor, particularly if you're writing a book, don't be surprised when some of that stuff comes up. And you want to have a plan and a path for navigating that, because a lot of us have experienced trauma in our lives and we never processed it. We never had a therapist. We never talked to someone about it. We just wanted to power our way through it. And so that stuff, it's like a ricochet. It's coming back whether you're ready for it or not. Like it's like, nope, we didn't deal with it. We got to deal with it now. And so just be cognizant of just how, when you sit down to create something, that some old fear, some old doubt, some old self-esteem issues, some old mistakes, for some reason they get louder and louder. And so I want you to make sure that you have people that you can count on, friends that you can reach out to and just say, hey, this is what I'm doing and this is how I'm feeling, and that they can support you. And if you don't have anybody, just send me a DM. Just send me a message and say, hey, Lakeisha, I know you don't know me, but this is what's in my mind right now. And that's all you have to say. You don't have to ask a specific question or anything like that. But I think that it's always important to express yourself and to express some of those feelings and those emotions that you're experiencing. And so if you're in the middle of something and it starts to feel a little heavy, I want you to reach out to someone. Another thing that I think is helpful when you begin to process old trauma or old memories as you create is to journal. That's why I came out with this, y'all. That's one reason why. I mean, it's funny. Don't get me wrong. I have lots of petty stuff in here where you can process the things that you typically would post on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or whatever else. You can process it on paper without hurting anybody's feelings. But there are also some exercises in here that help you to think through past experiences, the good and the bad and the ugly, and to really process your emotions. And so journaling is not something where you have to know the perfect thing to say. In fact, it is the place for the imperfect things. It's the one place that you can show up as your true self and express your true opinions without feeling judged or feeling like you have to say what you're supposed to say. And so you don't have to, I would love it if you got this, because it has the guided prompts. So it has the questions so that you don't have to figure out, what I wish I could say. But, like for instance, what has surprised you the most about parenthood in your own experience or witnessing others? And so this is like a simple question. It's just a little space to respond to it. But I think a lot of times we go through life, and as a child, we have in our mind what we think something should be. Like, we think adulthood would be this way. We think being a mom or being a dad will turn out this way. And then when we arrive at that place, when we arrive at that point, and it's not like we expected, a lot of times it can dredge up some emotions and some feelings. And so by expressing these thoughts here, you can work through that. You can begin to see, oh, I had some wrong beliefs, or what I based my thoughts on, it wasn't rooted in fact. It was rooted in fantasy, perhaps. And so instead of burying or running away from some of those conflicting emotions, you can actually clear a path. And so that's my tip today. When you are engaging in a work and it's in progress and it's a long journey, you're gonna go through these different phases, and especially in that initial phase, you start to reflect on some areas. And this, I feel like this happens with anybody. Like, even if you're writing fiction, as a person of faith, God, he works on me through my work. So I can have character flaws or areas of my life where there's unbelief, and he will give me a character idea of someone who's working on that same thing without me even realizing it, until I start writing it. And I'm writing it and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's so crazy, why is she doing this? And then I'm like, oh, she's you're talking about yourself. And so it doesn't matter what you're working on. You don't have to have this goal of writing your life story for sometimes these moments and these things to pop up. And so I just want to let you know that that's why they're popping up. They're popping up because you didn't address it, and it's time to address it in a real transformative way. Not to ignore it, not to just divert your attention to something else. It's time to really, really, really focus on it and get through it and to heal from it. And don't ever hesitate on getting professional help, professional support. I love my pastor. I talk to my pastor about certain things, but I love my therapist too. I like to talk to my therapist about some of those things that I'm going through. And so if you can afford it, try to see that professional. Even if you don't feel like you need it. So like for right now, I don't have like I'm not going through like a major crisis or anything that I'm aware of, but I still think it's good mental maintenance to talk to a therapy so that I can process some of these little things that, if left untreated, can become big things. You want to engage in preventative care right now, because that's why you're probably in the situation you're in right now, is because what was a little injury has just festered over time and has really grown into a major wound. But y'all, there's healing, there's light on the other side. If you just look at it, you gotta look at it. You gotta actually reflect upon it. You can't keep hiding. So this was a little deeper than I like to go sometimes on Work in Progress Wednesday, but it's just something that came to me. It's been on my heart to share with you guys, because I do sense that a lot of people are engaging in creative activities and they don't know what is going on. Like, they probably think that they're crazy because they're having these emotional moments. Or if you're feeling really exhausted, I tell my writers in my program all the time how if you're writing for 30 minutes or an hour about a painful memory, even if you're writing fiction, you may feel exhausted afterwards because you have to go through those emotions. You have to go through the motion of that period of life, and it can take a lot out of you. You're not lazy. You're not lazy. Your body is just responding to what's happening on a spiritual and mental level, and so you have to let it run its course, y'all. It's a process, and I just encourage you to continue to make progress bit by bit, little by little. And again, if you're in the middle of some of this stuff and you're like, Keisha, I don't help me, just send me a message, and let's see if we can get you on track. So it's good chatting with you guys. I hope to see you again next week on Work in Progress Wednesday.